Now it's on.
All right. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Welcome
We're
to Kiss and
back.
Tell. Yes, welcome to Kiss
Yeah.
and Tell podcast, where we're talking about everything
Mhm.
when it comes to intimacy and sexuality and all this good stuff. I'm Jay the Loveologist, and I'll let everybody else introduce themselves. The co-hosts, the three co-hosts.
Hello. They call me Dr. Jenny. I'm the CEO and founder of Kiss and Tell Magazine, kissandtellmagazine.com, and I'm here to let's talk about sex.
Yes, and we have a special to our human.
Yeah, I'm the special professionally unprofessional person. So my name is Steph. I have no formal education in any sort of sex therapy or anything like that. I have a very informal education. So I'm excited to see what these ladies have to say.
Yeah, I think it's important to be able to listen. This is the space where you can be yourself no matter who you are, what your education level is, or where you come
Mhm.
from. At the end of the day, we all have experience and have a desire and a need to connect. And that's what intimacy is, right? And
Mhm.
intimacy kind of transcends that education. I think when sometimes we put on our academic hats, we miss a critical mass of people. And so I'm happy to that Dr. Jenny and Steph have really kind of opened this door to be able to invite different conversations in because hey, us academics need to sit down and be quiet sometimes.
Yeah, and I will have a million questions, I promise you.
Hey, you'll have a million answers too because
That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
If for anything, just to get answers to all my crazy questions.
that's that's what's important.
Yeah.
Um, so Dr. Jenny, what are we talking about today?
Well, tonight we're talking about communicating with our partners about sex.
Mm,
The most common question that we had sent to us for tonight's podcast was, how do I talk to my partner about sex? How do I talk to them about what I want in the bedroom?
mm,
Um, because most are unsure of what to say without offending their partner, because they have the impression that if they tell them what they want or tell them what they don't like, that
mm.
they're offending them. They're gonna hurt their feelings. So tonight we're gonna talk about that for a little while, and then we're gonna talk about some current topics on sexual health. So
And that communication, ooh, that is like the foundational part to all types of relationships. I mean, we can talk about
Agreed.
sex all day and intimacy, but ooh, if you don't have communication skills,
but mhm.
I have
everything goes nowhere.
communications or no communication skills in almost every other aspect of my life.
Oh,
But the one place that I have always felt comfortably uncomfortable, I should say, because it's always a little awkward, right? Because you don't know what the other person's gonna think or say,
Mhm.
judge. Is being able to be like, I don't love that, or I love that, or why don't we see this, or would you like that? And that's something that I've always, and it's hard. I mean, it's hard just in general to pontificate on the things that you like, whether it's ice cream or anything. So I think it's important, like you said, to have that conversation, but also a little scary.
yeah, it is scary because we as people in general, we want to please our partners like
Mhm.
metaphysically, so not just physically, but we don't want to hurt their feelings. And society has us thinking that sometimes intimacy can be so high on the ladder of
Mhm.
like that pleasure seeking or that that satisfaction seeking moment. So we tend to be like, oh, we don't want to critique anybody because then they'll have shame, then they'll get angry, then they'll withdraw sex, then they'll not want to do anything kinky with me anymore.
But mm,
So yeah, it's a touchy subject.
it is.
Yeah.
The first thing that I normally say to people is that when they ask me about that, because that, like I said, is the most common question, is how well do you know what you want? You know, how well do you know your body? Because you know what you can tell by the sensations that you're feeling. You know, your body communicates that to you whether you like it or you don't like it. So, and I don't know if, or at least I've met many people who don't understand that part of themselves.
Yeah. We're taught that our bodies, especially if you are a vulva owner, if you have a femme body, that this body that we are kind of shelled in is something mysterious.
And
And
mysterious.
yes, and that if we explore it, then it's something taboo. That like,
Mhm.
are you saying if we explore our bodies that we don't need a partner? Are you saying that if we explore our bodies that we're deviant? Are you saying that if we explore our bodies that there's something wrong with us? And that has been the mantra that
Right.
has been like the way that touch and exploration has been packaged. But I mean, society's always talking about, you know, men and masculine figures exploring their bodies. I mean, think of all these movies like There's Something About Mary, the
Mhm.
masturbation scene on that, and
Right.
all these films and movies of like boys masturbating. But do you ever see any films talking about girls masturbating outside of something that is trauma related?
Mhm. I only saw one.
I have been enjoying lately that a couple shows and movies have kind of been, for lack of my better terminology, hanging dong. So they have had, so anything else, it's like everybody's, you know, boobs are out, like everything's happening, and the men are just like maybe chest, like waist up, and then like maybe if it's really promiscuous, their butt.
Mhm.
And now it's kind of making the shift to like that's not the reality. Now also what they show is usually not the reality anyway, but
Mhm.
movies, nobody's boobs look like that. I shouldn't say nobody, but like, come on.
Yeah.
But no, I am enjoying that shift, but I also have always had this sense of sense of insecurity in general, but based on those. And I think Dr. Jenny, you mentioned that in one of your articles, like when it's like, oh, in movies where they just, oh, they pleased each other perfectly. And it's
Yeah.
like, well,
Mhm.
that's the standard then. And
Right.
why should I expect that to be the standard? Because nobody knows anyone that well without work.
Yeah, and it impacts how we communicate. Sometimes the only time that we learn about intimate communications is from what we see on like films and TVs. We don't often see it from our parents or family members because we've tabooed that topic sometimes in the households where that's not even talked about. So we watch films and we romanticize what intimate conversation is. And you know, our films and our TV and our media will have us thinking like people are going to come into marriages or come into relationships or partnerships or kink activities already knowing.
Yeah.
Like they have like this sixth sense.
Mhm.
Like they already know exactly what I want. So when it's not that expectation, it's like pearls clutch. Like what?
And if they don't, then I can't tell them, right? Because they should already know. And if they don't know, then I'm wrong or I'm experiencing it differently or I shouldn't say what I need to say because they should already know.
Yeah.
And if they don't, and I'm divergent from what they think, then I'm the aberration, and it's
Yes. Oh,
difficult to kind of to kind of break that
But
expectation and that self.
a lot of times when, based on what you two are saying, that is us thinking that's what the partner's thinking.
Absolutely.
And even though, and they probably aren't, but in our mind, that has to be what they're thinking. So that's why communication's key, to make sure what you're thinking is absolutely correct. Because you might be surprised to learn, no, that they said, no, I don't think that way at all. I don't feel that way at all. I'm happy that you're telling me because I want to please you.
Yeah, who doesn't want to do their best job?
Right. So,
Who doesn't want to, be good at what they do? Whether it's, in bed, out of bed, doesn't matter. Like, who doesn't want to be good at what they do and then be, I don't want to say recognized, like everyone needs praise, but yeah, being recognized, like, all right, good job, babe. You did it. Don't change anything. Now we know.
what?
yeah. I saw this Facebook post in this group. It was really heated conversation. I think there was like 400 comments on it. And the post said, if your partner was not good in bed, would that be a deal breaker for you? And there was this overwhelming majority of people that said, that's why I sample it before I make a decision on it. Or that is why, if they're not good, then I just automatically kind of dismiss them. And my thing is like,
Good subjective.
that is so subjective.
Yeah.
It is. Like, if someone's going into an intimate relationship, whether it is monogamous or polyamorous or open or any type of interaction, and they're thinking they're going to please that same person the same way they did with somebody else, then we've already kind of failed our learning curve. Because anything you go into, you have to go into it with a different approach.
Mhm.
Like the way that somebody else likes to be pleased may be similar, but they may like something different, and that requires that communication.
Right.
And somehow we've missed that along the way in our sex education. Of course, I know why we've missed that. We don't prioritize sex education. We just don't. But
Right.
gosh, it's mind blowing.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually having this conversation maybe an hour and a half ago about how, and I probably drive my husband crazy because I was like, so what do you think about this? Would you be into that? Like, and not necessarily that it's something I want to explore, but I'm open to. And
Right.
I want to check in and make sure, and not like, oh, please your man, but kind of, because I love him and I want, to make sure that I'm doing right by him.
Mhm.
So, and I know that's reciprocated. But yeah, I think it all depends on how we learn to connect with ourselves. And now I have an easier time talking to somebody sexually about things like that than I do in a social environment of being like, hey, what you said made me uncomfortable. Like that is more difficult for me. I feel as most of the women that I know have a fear behind both. But like I said, everybody wants to do their best job. So I'm always looking for feedback. Like, was that good? Do you want to try something else? And I think there's a time and place for feedback too. I think that's an issue as well sometimes.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is a big point.
Mhm.
Had a conversation with this group, and I said, if there's feedback when it comes to intimacy, it is best had not an argument.
Exactly.
It's sometimes best had outside of the bedroom.
Mhm.
And you know, that's a novel concept. But when you think of like your bedroom should be your sacred space
Yeah.
where your energy is replenished. So if you're always going to your bedroom for an argument or something that's critiquish, what are you going to associate the bedroom being? A
Right.
very toxic space. And yeah, we know that sex happens more than just the bedroom. We do. And I kind of but
Ideally, yeah.
ideally.
Footprints on my garage wall. So
But you know,
again, like I said,
that bedroom, let's have that communication some other places too, you know, have it in a calm
Mm-hmm.
conversation.
And give it a time limit.
Mm,
Don't talk about it too long because then it can become something else.
mm.
So focus on the topic and give yourself 10 to 15 minutes and then walk away from it.
So my question for you two would be then, so if I have that conversation with my husband and like we're very brutally open with one another to the point where sometimes love you. But if you come to like an impasse where it's like a hard no, and luckily we've never reached that situation, but if you come to an impasse where it's a hard no from one person, how would you address that? If it's something like, this is what I need, and I love you, and we're in a committed relationship, or, you know, just to kind of put a constraint on it, what do you do in that situation? Do you just stuff down what you want and what, you know, you're looking for? I mean, you can't, in my mind, you don't want to force it on them, but you also want to be emphatic about like your needs and what makes you happy. So what would your advice be for people who are kind of straddling that line?
I mean, to me, it's looking for the compromise. You know, where can you meet in the middle, so to speak? Maybe they're unable to do everything that you need, because right now you're being so vague that I can go 100 different directions, but based on being vague, uh, uh, you know, what would the compromise be? Okay, if you can't meet this need, how about this? Are you willing to do this? Are you open to this? You know, giving them some options. So,
Yes, ditto to that. Compromise, thinking outside the box. So if someone, let's say, a very, you know, as of late, you know, being in open relationships is a major kind of topic that people have, you know, discussed within, especially long-term relationships. You know, wanting to venture out there and see what else is out there, or you know, meeting some type of coworker, developing some type of intimate feelings, and wanting to, you know, express that. Now, your other partner may be like, heck no, that ain't happening. It's not happening. But there could be a compromise. Compromise could look like lifestyle clubs.
mm,
Could be something that you two, or you know, you two do together, that doesn't involve exchanging, you know, energies with other people, but something that could be very exhibitionist or voyeur like.
Voyeurism. So kind of trading up maybe to something,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I mean, who knows? You might think you're interested in something, and then when you actually kind of get into it, you're like, I don't think so much. But that was one of the questions I saw on one of the chats on the Kiss and Tell magazine website was, you know, how do I address things with my partner? And I think that's kind of what Dr. Jenny was saying earlier, that I want to explore, or I'm, you know, interested in. And I think Jay kind of expanding it out to be, you know, there are a lot of different options for people. I think that's a lot of people are going to find that helpful. Because
Yeah,
again, you don't always know.
a lot of options.
Yeah.
Just outside of that box, that doesn't involve, you having to be with other people, but still
Mhm.
gives that kind of like I'm doing something different and wild, and like, but I'm doing it with my partner. But
Yeah.
also sometimes it's that very uncomfortable conversation as well too, that there are people that are not monogamous types of people. There are people that cannot be monogamous because they're just not that way. And sometimes they try to fit into a box, but they feel like something is removed from them
Stifled,
by
yeah.
being put in the box. So sometimes it requires that internal dialogue and that conversation.
How do I make this work without
Yeah,
trying to run around behind someone's back or trying to cheat or try,
Right.
yeah,
withholding the things that makes, that person happy, I guess, is that kind of,
yeah,
so being able to be like, hey, listen, this is something I want to explore versus maybe having even emotional cheating,
Well,
experiences with someone.
yeah, but some people, they are not monogamous. They cannot be
Yeah.
monogamous.
Yeah.
And they may have entered into a relationship thinking that they can be and
Yeah.
pushing stuff down about
And the
themselves.
expectation is that they will be.
Yes. And
So
they
if they
may have
express,
to have that conversation and say,
yeah.
hey, I may not be able to thrive in this relationship without causing harm.
And how do we address that? Can we? And if we
Can
can't,
we?
then,
That's a big question. Can we address that? Because
yeah.
sometimes it may not be able to be addressed.
Yeah.
We want
I guess,
we want to think that everything can be fixed,
yeah.
that everything can have that, but sometimes the answer is not as favorable when it comes to developing a unit, but sometimes it's favorable in developing yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
If you can't make anyone happy, at least try and make yourself happy.
yeah,
Remember that part of it. It is about you, what
Yeah.
you need. It's not about judging anybody else. It's just taking personal responsibility about what you need.
That's
You know,
Yep.
Yeah.
what turns you on, what makes you happy. I mean,
Yeah.
and the easiest way to start the conversation is saying what I need. It's not. It's about me. And it's not about me criticizing you. It's just about me showing what I need.
And how we can make this work based on what
Mm-hmm.
I need out of a relationship, or even if it's with multiple partners or, whatever. It's
Right.
setting expectations too, I think, is very important.
You can add that. But you can add, you know what, I want this, and then find out you don't like it. So you need to leave that room too. Say, you know what, I was incorrect. I thought that's what I wanted. We did it. Thank you for exploring that with me. No, I don't want it again. You know.
Yeah.
So, but it's having that freedom in the relationship to do that.
Yeah. I think it's important to make sure to center ethics
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
your communication and your forms of intimacy, and ethical ways of dealing with intimacy and sexuality are essential because we don't want to be coercive. We don't want to, lord power over
Right.
someone, saying that just because you're in this unit that you have to do what I say. Or if you're going to keep me, then you have to agree with this form of lifestyle or this form of kink or this form of whatever. That would be, and it happens all the time, unfortunately. But that is disastrous for maintaining and sustaining intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
You have
Even your own
to,
happiness. Yeah.
yeah,
I
you have
think
to
the use of the word ethics is really interesting because I track with that very well, but I feel like to some people and a lot of people that I've, had conversations with, I ask everybody everything, as you can tell, is that word ethics sometimes harkens to a, for lack of a better word, like a biblical, like, oh, honor thy husband, or,
Mm.
you know, now I do believe in the golden rule, but do unto others. But I think ethics is a word that kind of transcends more than what people consider it to. So I think that was a really interesting way for you to
Well,
and kind of spin on
the easiest way, in my opinion, for ethics, to maintain ethics, if you will, and this is just my thinking, you can agree or disagree, is your words and your actions match.
Yes.
If what comes out of your mouth and how you behave is exactly in tune, it's easy to follow the ethics.
Yeah. And oftentimes we get morality and ethics confused.
Mhm.
Oftentimes
Yes.
biblically or, religiously, we talk about morality, about what is good and what is bad, what is approved and what is not approved. But ethics
but
is
morality is along that line, where people assume morality and ethics are this like hard, concrete thing that transcends, sex, race, gender, religion. It's, if these are my ethics, so that's it, and that must be the same way for everybody. And not that it is the same way for everybody or you assume it is, but if they don't align with your ethics or your morals, then they're wrong. So I think actually framing it like that, I mean, it sounds now, it makes total sense to me, but I never thought of it that way, because I just never considered like ethics or morals to be something that you were able to adjust, I guess.
Yeah, I think that when you're in a relationship, I think it's important to, I situate intimacy in passion, pleasure, and purpose. And what tends to happen is when one of those three things or those three kind of legs of your table or your chair is like not there, then it ends up toppling over. And that purpose aspect is very ethical question. Why are we together? What is the purpose? And what is our foundation? And that could be different from person to person. And I think that's important when it comes to intimate conversations and relationship conversations. What is the purpose? What is our ethics as a couple? What are we striving to build together? Not what Bob and Sue are doing, or Bob and John around the corner are doing.
Bob, John, and Sue, who knows?
Or Bob, John, and Sue, and Mary Beth and Tanya over there. But what are we doing, Jay and such, and maybe such and such as well too. But what is important for us? And I think that's, I agree with you. Like ethics, it can be different from person to person, but that foundation is integrity.
I love
making
that.
sure that power is not a factor. Power is not like taking power over or taking power from. Should be the rooted foundation.
I love that, because like I said, I think a lot of people think of like ethics and morals and things like that in a black and white, and it's got to be this or that. And I never thought of it. I mean, I never heard it expressed in that way. So that actually kind of validates me and my feelings and my relationship and the way I interact with even my family or my friends or anything, because it's my ethics, it's my morals. And I used to be a very angry, very rageful, very jealous.
I have to interrupt. I'm sorry. We're running out of time.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. I distracted you guys from all of the things you wanted to talk about.
No, we're coming back on February 8th, I believe. and it will be another Q&A and talk show. So hopefully we can continue.
Yeah, I'm glad we were able to address several questions that were on the site and things that people were putting up, because I think that's kind of one of the most important things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Join us on February 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern. Kiss and tell my Hazina.
February. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. I'm sorry I hijacked the conversation, but you guys answered some really important
Great. It was
questions.
great. I think it was great for people to hear.
Yeah.
So, thanks.
Great.